Usually, all actors and actresses are divided into three categories: the good, the bad, and the ugly. From film to film there is a migration of different representatives between these categories. But because everyone can consider an actor to be talented in one movie and mediocre in the next, there is another category of actors, called Ryan Reynolds. This category is not liked by many people. Someone because of the fact that it is Canadian, and someone thinks that Ryan Reynolds always plays Ryan Reynolds. Also in this category of actors is Dwayne Johnson, who always plays Dwayne Johnson. Now they even star together. As ridiculous as it is, the category of actors Ryan Reynolds is currently the highest paid in Hollywood. And just recently, Ryan was already preparing to enter Bruce Willis' new movies, and was rapidly diving into projects that no longer hit theaters. But like a few other notable actors, Ryan was able to rise from the ashes and now he is one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood. He's naturally very lucky with the changes in the world due to the glut of streaming and the piles of gold that various services are throwing at bad actors. But it's not a bad achievement to be in the front row to have the bulk of the gold flying at you. Today I'd like to remember this category of actors and one of its most prominent representatives. Ryan Reynolds was born in Canada, and his career has not developed very well. He started acting in the early 90s, but most of his roles were an appearance in The Fifth Plan in the TV series like The X-Files. It wasn't until the early 90s that his head above water appeared. The American box office hit the youth comedy National Lampoon's Van Wilder. Ryan also made his way into Hollywood from comedies with adult ratings, which exploded the US box office in the early 90s. Reynolds himself does not particularly like to talk about this film. The actor claims he has not even seen it, and saw only a knee-slapped rough version. After that, he decided that enough is enough. Van Wilder was not a breakthrough level of American Pie. On a budget of $5 million, film take $38 million. Ryan Reynolds received a nomination from MTV for Breakthrough of the Year. Life began to get better. He moved from the TV series to a second Hollywood movie. In TV movies like School of Life, or Canadian films, he began to be cast in lead roles. There were no major successes here. At this point, Ryan tried to distance himself a bit from the roles of the pretty young guy with the girls jumping around and signed on for Blade 3rd. But as many may remember, this attempt was unsuccessful, and instead of showing himself from any other side, Ryan had to run around the set of The Angry Wesley Snipes, who appointed Reynolds and the director of the movie the main culprits of crap going on the set. Reynolds is officially said to have run faster than Snipes and not to have sustained any injuries other than psychological ones. Well, Blade 3 got the lowest viewer score in the series. The film completely failed at the box office. After that, Snipes' career was over. But it could have ended even more sadly. According to rumors, Reynolds really wanted the lead role in the movie Son of the Mask, and only at the finish line he was overtaken by Jamie Kennedy. One can only speculate what might have happened to Reynolds' career. And if you look at it this way, an angry Wesley Snipes running after him doesn't look so scary anymore. Since Reynolds was running in the third Blade in the background, he didn't get hurt much, or maybe he didn't have time to get hurt. The following year, the actor had 3 projects out at once. All 3 films were successful at the box office. The first movie hit theaters was the Amityville Horror. This film is known not only for the fact that it starred such a talented actor as Ryan Reynolds, but also for the fact that it was the last MGM film as an independent studio. It would later be bought by Sony. These days the studio has already been repurchased by Amazon. It's also Chloe Grace Moritz's first film. Ryan Reynolds wore contact lenses to look more severe and sinister. It seemed to the authors that the actor was too cute and would not scare anyone with his usual eye color. At the box office, Amityville take $108 million on a budget of $19 million. The romantic comedy Just Friends followed at theaters. In the US, a small cult following developed around the film over time, and questions regarding the second part are still surfacing. Although the $15 million project bounced back, earning $51 million. The studio did not dare squeeze anything else out of the film. Towards the end of 2005, rolled out another comedy with Reynolds Waiting. Success was more modest. The film grossed $18 million at the box office, but it only cost $3 million. Ryan did not like offers of roles in various comedies and decided to become an even more talented actor. He began to refuse such scenarios. Without thinking, the actor signed on for the films Chaos Theory and The Nines. Both bypassed wide distribution and almost immediately went on DVD. A similar thing happened with the films Paperman and Fireflies in the Garden, which also proved unnecessary. Ryan played supporting roles, and after their fiasco he was usually forgotten. It wasn't all that bad. In 2007, Smokin' Aces hit the box office. The studio expected more, which is why the options with the continuation of the film were considered even before. The film grossed $57 million on a budget of $17 million. We can also mention the movie Definitely, Maybe. With a budget of $24 million, it grossed $55. And the bonuses didn't come to Ryan because of the box office achievement are pretty modest. But film became a cult movie in the United States. Fun fact that Reynolds' film, which no one noticed, had budgets less than $4 million, and their failure of the actor did not particularly hurt. And more expensive films of the actor can no longer be called a failure. This tactic gave bonuses in 2009. Ryan got into two big projects at once, one of which in the future will save his career. Funny thing is that Ryan in Wolverine was taken without any casting. Got him there because of the failed film Blade 3 and comedy roles actor that he wanted to get rid of. According to a popular story, the filmmakers wanted to take the role of Wade Wilson actor, who usually pisses off everyone. And after looking at famous young actors, they came to the conclusion that it is Ryan Reynolds who pisses off them the most. Reynolds was not told about this point. He immediately agreed to star in an expensive comic book movie. All the more reason for him to be hinted at options for a solo movie later. The film did not perform well at the box office, but X-Men Wolverine is considered one of the most damaged movies of an early pirate release. There were underdone special effects, and the internet was quickly flooded with stories about how it was trash and not a movie after all. The film grossed only $373 million on a budget of $150. The studio blamed the low grosses on pirates and gave the go-ahead for another solo film for Hugh Jackman. And Ryan's second film in 2009 was the comedy The Proposal. It's another Sandy B movie that she signed on for after Julia Roberts turned her down, and another movie that became a big hit after that. Reynolds also got into movies thanks to Bullock. They met back in the late 90s, often communicated after that, and even became friends. When Sandra signed on for the film, she suggested taking on the main male role of Ryan Reynolds. Because of this point, there were a few problems on the set. Sandra did not want to undress for one of the film's scenes, as she was uncomfortable doing it with a good friend. Reynolds claims he was also against it for the same reasons. But Ryan's opinion is unlikely to interest anyone at the time. The episode was attempted to be filmed in underwear. Sandra says that it was so bad that she still dared to take off her clothes. Reynolds naturally changed his mind immediately, too. The Proposal, for a budget of $40 million, grossed $317 million at the box office. Deciding that an unsuccessful Wolverine meant the end of his career as Wilson, he signed on for another superhero movie, Green Lantern. And one project in which he already wanted to demonstrate that he was a real actor and able to carry films on his shoulders alone. That film was Buried. It was shot in only 17 days and earned at the box office $19 million with a budget of $3 million. Most of that budget went into Ryan Reynolds' pocket. There are plenty of stories on the internet related to the filming of Lantern. If on the set of Blade, Ryan wanted to beat up by Wesley Snipes. Here Ryan wanted to beat the director of the movie by his own hands. Ryan was humiliated the whole filming process for being unlike Bradley Cooper. All of these conflicts on the set before shooting with reshoots led to the movie that was supposed to kickstart the DC universe once it hit theaters. The studio chose to forget. Lantern grossed $219 million on a budget of $200. This is one of the most painful failures for Warner in its history. Ryan himself has repeatedly admitted to hating the film. According to him, he was incredibly happy after the failure of Green Lantern. Even before Lantern hit theaters, Ryan had managed to sign on for 2 projects: Safe House and The Change Up. He was invited to the Safe House by Denzel Washington. Not because they're any great friends. It's just that Denzel is a very influential actor and he usually picks his own partners in his movies. And for some reason, he chose Reynolds from a stack of pictures. The original idea was to shoot the movie in Rio. Naturally, the favelas and the most prominent places of the Brazilian city were to be involved. Ryan had already introduced himself to the Brazilian reality and began to blend in with the crowd, but at the last moment they changed the title and decided to shoot in Cape Town. It seems Denzel had heard rumors that the favelas were not safe and the local bandits might try to take over the star actor's body. He couldn't afford to take that risk. Once, because of the same danger, the shooting of the 5th Fast and the Furious was postponed. The family could not afford such a risk either. Because of all these production stoppages, script changes, shooting the film was problematic, and at one point the studio even wanted to replace director Daniel Espinosa. But here Denzel wouldn't allow that to happen and insisted that the director make the movie to the end. At the box office, Access Code performed modestly. On a budget of $85 million, it grossed $208 million. Talk of a sequel to the movie repeatedly surfaced in the press, and Ryan Reynolds has consistently stated his desire at the first call to run in it to play. But so far it has not gone beyond talk. But the comedy The Change Up at the box office completely failed. Next movie R.I.P.D. sank at the box office in 2013 with loud screams. It's a typical troubled movie with reshoots, conflicts, all the things that usually happen to projects that get written off before they even get to the box office. Ryan Reynolds and Jeff Bridges say the movie might have been good, but the studio intervened with test screenings and cut the film into something completely insane. Reynolds' career wasn't just going downhill, it was going downhill at full speed. His next movie, The Captive, in which Ryan again wanted to show he was a great actor, withdrawn from theaters almost every country in the world. The film went directly on DVD. Here we have to go back to the X-Men Wolverine and the Green Lantern. Although Wolverine was heavily criticized, Reynolds' character was often praised. Ryan repeatedly told the press that he wanted a solo movie for his character. But then he signed on to Green Lantern from a rival superhero firm, and it became dangerous to talk about Deadpool. When he was done with Lantern, however, Ryan grappled with his Wade Wilson. He kept bringing him up in various interviews. In those years it was written that Fox Studios didn't believe in such a project. That all changed when Blur Studio founder Tim Miller joined Ryan. Miller used his studio's facilities, which produced trailers for computer games, make a spectacular clip which would show what a future film could be like. The studio liked this 2-minute segment, but for some time permission to produce films still did not give. Everything changed after the video leaked on the internet. Audience reaction was strictly positive. Deadpool was given the go-ahead to shoot. A scene from that clip would later get a remake in the movie itself. Prior to the release of Deadpool, Ryan continued to bury himself. In 2015, Selfless failed at the box office, which on a budget of $26 million barely made $31 million. If Deadpool not became a hit, Ryan would have no doubt left to make B-movies. And maybe even worked with Nicolas Cage or Bruce Willis himself. But the movie takes $782 million on a budget of $58. And Deadpool brought back the fashion for adult-rated comics, proving to studios that they could make crazy money at the box office. The direction of Ryan's career has changed dramatically, and his next film, The Hitman's Bodyguard, with a very modest budget of $30 million, take $183 million at the box office. Deadpool Part 2 hit theaters in 2018 with a budget of $110 million. It takes $734 million at the box office. The studio earned less than the first picture, but still the numbers were excellent. Here we would like to note one point, which from the outside does not look very nice. The first film was directed by Tim Miller, the same one who helped launch Deadpool. That is, theoretically the first film without his help may not have happened. When working on the sequel, Ryan Reynolds moved him and replaced him with another director. Officially it happened because of creative differences. Miller wanted a bigger sequel and Reynolds insisted on a more modest film. Rumor has it Ryan just wanted more influence on the film. Miller, instead of a second Deadpool, made a massive epic Terminator Dark Fate. All in all, the situation from the outside doesn't look great, but what really happened there, you can't see from the couch. So everyone can build theories to choose the side. Ryan choose role more careful and the streaming situation that's taking over the world has played right into his hands. His career took off in just a couple of years and it all coincided with the same takeoff of streaming and with the virus story. So the actor didn't have time to star in any cinematic projects and went to visit Netflix, which started paying the actor crazy money. For 6 Underground Ryan got $27 million. For Red Notice he got $25 million. Next to completely failed the sequel Bodyguard Killer grossed $71 million on a budget of $70. But The Free Guy did a great job. Film take $310 million on a budget of $130 million. How much did Reynolds earn for his latest film for Netflix? The Adam Project is unknown. According to official figures, the film soared to the 3rd highest number of views in the history of the service. And we can assume that the partnership between Netflix and Ryan will continue. And bags of money will be delivered to him in the future. Ryan has several big projects in the pipeline, one of which is the 3rd Deadpool, and in the near future nothing bad can happen to his career. Thanks for the attention. Stay tuned.